Hey, welcome back to another episode of All Things Fitness. This is episode 7, yay! And we have a phenomenal guest today, Anna Marie and I'm gonna get this name right sooner or later, TLEN.
TLEN, you got it.
TLEN, there we go. TLEN, which is oxygen in Polish. So for you all that didn't know, TLEN means oxygen in Polish. And Anna has a unbelievable story that she's going to share with you all today. And as you know, my show is always built around uplifting, empowering, and a positive message. We, even though it's all things fitness, our focus is centered around cycling. So generally I have triathletes, cyclists, and runners. And not that I won't have other disciplines or other sports, but that's generally, I focus on cycling. And today we have a phenomenal cyclist that wasn't always a cyclist. And you'll be surprised when you hear her story, how long she actually been cycling and what motivated her to cycle. And I think that's the part that's going to encourage you, because someone out there may be going through something similar or have suffered something traumatic that had them in the same headspace, and they're trying to figure out what to do. How do I overcome? So the name and the title of this show is The Power to Overcome, and I hope you are blessed by today. So Anna Marie, you want to introduce yourself?
Just Anna Marie here from TLEN Cycling.
And Anna is located in the Illinois area, up north around the Barrington area, her group cycles around the Highland Park. You say Highland Park area?
Yeah, Northbrook, Highland Park, Evanston, all around the lakefront.
Okay, around the lakefront. So if you're looking for a team, and the reason I say that, if you're in the Illinois area and you're up north and you're looking for a group to ride with, reach out to TLEN and see if you can connect with them. I know that they're strong riders. I don't know the group per se, but I know Anna, and she's a strong rider. And she just told me she got dropped from her group, so that must mean they're even stronger. So
the time.
That being said, if you're looking for a strong group to train with, you may want to look into reaching out to them. So let's get into it. Let's talk about your journey. And we're going to talk about this traumatic experience that you overcame very early on, right? So we're talking about degenerative disc disease. This is something you were diagnosed with. You didn't know you had it until as you was already an adult before you found out that you actually had it.
Yes. And
then up until a certain point, you delayed the surgery. Was it delayed, or you just...
No, they didn't know. I had symptoms 15 years ago of neck pain, shoulder pain. And every doctor was like, oh, I'm not sure. You're young. You'll grow out of it. Oh, wow. And as time went on, it just kept getting worse and worse. And so as my son got older, things got harder. I lost range of motion, in my neck. I was very tired of my neck all the time. And finally, I found a doctor who was like, you know what? You have degenerative disc disease. And basically what that means is that the discs in my neck have broken down, have gotten soft, and have moved, and pushing into the spinal cord. And my neck just wasn't working right. Let me ask you this. Is it safe to say, had they not caught it, is it possible that you could have been paralyzed from that? I don't think so. I think that it definitely compromises the integrity of your spine. But I don't think that just regular day-to-day stuff I could have been paralyzed.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
No. Okay. But it was painful, and it limited a lot of my day-to-day stuff. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you found this out and you had the surgery. Excuse me. How old were you at this point when you had the surgery?
So the surgery was in 2019. I was 37-ish. Just kidding. Just kidding. 37. So I had it in March of 2019. And as far as cycling goes, in 2018, I'd ride in the summer. Okay. Here and there, when the weather was nice. Right. I was no cyclist now where I go out in the snow or go out in the rain or the cold just to get those miles in. It was like, hey, let's go get some ice cream. Yeah, we'll hop on the bike,
Recreational. It was you was a recreational cyclist.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I was, recreationally getting ice cream most of the time. So then when I had the surgery in 2019, the doctor told me no impact exercises, no weight bearing exercises, especially on my upper body. So I thought, hey, I like riding a bike. And 3 weeks later, I was on my bike.
Okay. So you used cycling, your introduction to, becoming more serious of a cycler. Like you said, you were recreational. So it's not like you didn't know a bike. Like you knew your way around a bike, right?
Yeah.
But you probably wasn't riding the kind of bike you ride now. Obviously.
No, I think I've upgraded 4 times since then.
Okay.
4 bikes. Yeah.
Okay. So we're 4 bikes later, and you have this neck surgery. They tell you the things you like to do because you were a diver, right? And you ran, and so the things you like to do you couldn't do because obviously diving off a diving board is impact, right? Your neck couldn't sustain that. And then the running, that jolts your entire body, right? Every step sends vibration from head to toe. So you decided to cycle, and you grew some sort of a passion for it.
I did. I felt like I made it through the rehab cycling, and I thought, you know what? I really like this, and I've gotten this far. I'm not going to give up.
Okay. So, but that wasn't the end of your story. So listening to it, someone would say, okay, well, that was great. She had this born disease, a degenerative disease. She started cycling. The surgery corrected. Now, do you still have any lasting effects from the bone disease or no?
When you have a surgery, I had 1 disc replaced and 2 fused together. You still have some pain, especially, on those longer rides. You want to ice. Sometimes you have to take some meds, but it's really, it's much more manageable than it was before.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but for the most part, you're not worried about it. You kind of.
I'm not.
It's not going to get any worse. You kind of know how to live with it, tolerate the pain of it. And depending on how bad a brutal of a ride it is, you probably have more pains elsewhere than you do in your neck. So
I would agree with that. Yeah. Lots of other places.
But then, so let's move forward, right? So we're coming out of the surgery. You're coming out of the rehab. You're on this path of cycling. You have this mindset of becoming this cyclist now, right? Because I'm sure you're connecting with other cyclists, and you're seeing this is a different community than just recreational. Like these guys are pretty serious about cycling. But
100%.
But then you get hit with some more news.
I did. So I, went through my rehab, and then the next summer I rode because I was like, I made it this far. I can do this. I'm going to be a cyclist. This is my thing. And then in December of 2020, my husband and I lost a baby. We were pregnant. I appreciate that. And the pregnancy didn't survive. But what it did leave me with was a disease called gestational trophoblastic disease, which is cancer.
Oh, wow.
Basically, what happens is the trophoblastic cells from the embryo get implanted in your tissues, and they multiply like crazy. So I was hit with that news, and now, it was tough enough going through the loss of the baby, but it was finding out, 4 weeks later, 6 weeks later, that I had this cancer from the pregnancy was even more mind blowing.
So let's put a timestamp on this. You were 2018 recreational cyclist, and going through a rehab at this point, right?
In 2019, going through the rehab.
Okay, 2019 going through the rehab. 2020, you have a miscarriage.
Yep, December of 2020.
Okay, so the winter of 2020. By the summer of 2021, you find out you have a cervical cancer?
So by February of 2021, I found out I had this this gestational trophobectosis disease, which is a cancer of the female reproductive system.
Oh, wow. Now,
And
where are we mentally? Where are we at this point mentally? Just everything.
The best word to sum it up would be exhausted. I was just exhausted. I was emotionally exhausted. I was physically exhausted. I was spiritually exhausted. But I wasn't going to let go.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what happened?
Yeah.
I mean, so is there you went through treatment, I'm assuming, right?
I did. So February, they started to push medication on me, and I chose against chemotherapy. I thought, I'm young, I'm healthy, let's just see where this goes. And by end of April, I didn't have a choice. I had to do a surgery. I had to remove some of the parts that were affected, and I took a whole whopping 2 weeks off of cycling. I was back. I actually got on the bike a little bit too soon, and then I had to take like a week off, and then I was back on.
Wow.
And even then, my numbers were still high, and they told me that may not have been a cure-all. But I was hopeful that through, prayer and cycling and keeping focused, that I would heal my body, that it would heal. And I healed from the surgery fairly quickly, 6 weeks, 7 weeks. And then my numbers started to go down.
Wow. So, so during this time, now, mind you, we're talking about a person that we're not talking about someone who has been cycling for like 10, 15 years. There's, it's in your blood. You're pretty new to cycling at this point. But yet you developed a passion for it. Obviously your faith and your belief system and your support system with your family, your husband, you rehabbed yourself through one crisis through cycling and right into another crisis. And yet that still didn't stop you. I mean, you still persevered forward.
Oh, and not to mention, this was all during COVID.
So we're in the middle of a lockdown. You just getting bad news after bad news. And yet you still had the wherewithal. You had the motivation, the self-motivation. And let's talk about self-motivation. How much motivation does it take for oneself to overcome two very devastating... listen, there are people that would allow one of those scenarios to knock them off the plan, more or less two, but yet you set a goal for yourself. And you went through two traumatic life experiences and still persevered. Tell me the kind of motivation that it takes. Like, what was it about you that made you keep pushing forward like that?
I just kept saying to myself, all right, this has happened to me, but I have already come this far. A year ago today, I was praying that I would be the cyclist or the person that I am today. And for me to quit that and go backwards, and maybe if I want to start again riding, I have to start all over again. I thought, a year ago you were praying to be this person, and now you're here. Yeah, you have this roadblock, but you're going to get past this roadblock, and you're going to be a better cyclist for it. You can be a better person for it. And then I got through that cervical surgery. I was a stronger rider. I met a lot more people. I put in 7,000 miles that year.
Wow.
And then, had the cancer, and I literally just focused all of my energy on, obviously, number one, family.
That's right.
I was there for my family all the time, but every waking second that I wasn't with my family, taking care of my family, I was on that bike. Because that was the place, that was the escape, that was the thing, that was the only thing that was going to make me get better. And sure enough, I went through that from after the surgery, April, the numbers started going down. And by August, I had a cancer-free diagnosis.
So help me paint the picture. I often talk about, for me, how spiritual cycling is. I'm a pastor, and I understand the relationship with God and the need that we ought to have to make that connection. I also understand that you can find God in many of ways, and cycling is one of them, because there's a peace of mind, there is something spiritual about the wellness that comes with cycling. And to me, it seemed like you found that. It seemed like you tapped into that essence of the bike, and it's a form of not just rehabilitation because it's a low impact, but it's a spiritual rehabilitation. It gives you a sense of peace that is hard to find in other things. And I'm sure it's like, if you're a swimmer, you're a runner, anybody that have a passion for what they do, they can find that. But for you to put cycling at the forefront and use that as a catalyst to keep moving you forward, you had to have tapped into something spiritual that gave you that confirmation that it was okay. This is what I need to do, that desire to do it. Help me understand what that felt like for you. Like, yeah, just help me understand that.
I did. I think really what it comes down to is, with cycling, it's literally your body versus your mind versus your body, right?
Okay.
And our bodies are, if my body can put in that 30 miles, that 60 miles, that 200 miles, I can beat anything, right? That's what our bodies are there for. It's you do it, you work hard, you fight for it. And if I can do those things, I can do anything.
That's right. And oftentimes I tell people, cycling is broken up physically and mentally, right? There's the mental component is so huge, and that a lot of times people fail. Where they fail at is mentally, because physically, if you will your mind, if you get your mind conditioned to push your body will perform. It will, but you have to have the mental fortitude in order to push it. That in your case, I guess you can look and say, I've been through so much. And then you said it, I prayed to be the cyclist that I am a year ago, right? So now this is mind over body, because you're putting yourself in a position to say, I refuse to allow myself to go backwards. I'm only going to go forwards. And this is just an obstacle. No matter how big, it was still just an obstacle. You looked at it as just an obstacle. How tough was that? Or let me rephrase that. How many people around you maybe thought you were crazy?
A lot of people around me didn't know the struggle. My husband, he was there. He knew the struggle. And at times he thought, oh my God, you did 7,000 miles this year. That's crazy, right? But he knew it was for the best. He knew it was what was best for me. So I didn't really have a lot of people. Non-cyclists sometimes go, what is in the juice you are drinking? But cyclists, they get it.
Right.
They get it. They get working through those roadblocks.
I think that's where, and I'm with you on this. I'm with you, because I think there's a separation even in the cyclist community from the enthusiast that cycle, but maybe to a point, and those who are just committed, have found something different in cycling. You know what I mean? It's like those are the ones that just get it. It's a different community. I'm trying to put it into words where it makes sense, because a non-cyclist won't necessarily understand. But to your point, a true cyclist that have experienced that feeling, that breakthrough feeling, like you've just overcome something that you couldn't believe. It's like maybe doing elevation that, at one point in your life, you was like, I barely can get over a hill. And then you just went out here and did, 10,000 feet of elevation. And you're like, oh my God, until you've done it, you just don't know. Or when you ride your first century and it's like, until you've done it, other people are like, you rode 100 miles. Have you lost your mind? And you say to yourself, you just have to do it. I can't explain it to you. You just have to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is.
I look at what you went through and what you overcome in that saying. I've never had a traumatic, life-altering situation in my cycling that cycling, that I use cycling to kind of get through. However, I'm a second-generation cyclist. My father was a cyclist, and I remember him, some of the pastime things that we did. He's gone now. He would get me on a bike, and we would ride for miles. At that time, I thought 2 miles was miles,
Yeah.
I was a kid. But it wasn't until he passed and I started cycling for myself that I tapped into just the joy and the peace that came with cycling. And when I got into ministry, I joke about it, especially with my pastor friends. I say it all the time. I get my best messages to preach on Sunday when I'm on my bike. And there was a time when I would literally go out when I couldn't find a message. I'm looking for like, Lord, give me something, to preach on. I would go get on my bike purposely and ride like 60 miles and come back with like a aha moment, I got it. But there's just something about that bike that I think, whether you're going through something like what you went through, or you just someone who have developed a deep passion for the sport itself, there's something surreal or peaceful about being on your bike. And I think that's your journey. Now, let's jump into, when was it? So wait a minute. Last year we had Hammerfest.
Yes.
That's 2022, so that's 2021.
Mm-hmm.
You win our category for the women, and you are how long out of all of this that we talked about?
It was in October, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
October.
6 weeks cancer free. Yeah.
So all right, audience, but for all of you that had done Hammerfest with it. So if you remember, Anna, we're 6 weeks from being cancer free. So with everything else going on in your life, all the distractions and all the things you're trying to overcome mentally and emotionally and physically, 6 weeks later, you go out and on a very bad day, cold day, couldn't have been a worse day. You go out there and you ride, and no one would have known what you went through. I mean, no.
No.
There's no way. There was nothing about you on that day that I could see said you had just been given the news that you were cancer free, or that you went through treatment and all these other things that, we go through. I can have a sore ankle for a couple of weeks and miss like 3 weeks of cycling. I mean, I'm just trying to put this in perspective to like,
yeah, I get it.
Like the excuses that we use, and what I really want to get across, because this show is going to help so many people who come up and with so many reasons not to move forward. We create our own reasons. Like, I get it. I'm not feeling well. I get it. I may have even had, and there's a proper rehabilitation we need to go through, right? But there's also a mental part that you have to have the strength and the will and the desire to push yourself to go forward.
But you said, there's so many reasons to not do something, right?
Yes.
But take those same reasons, and they're exactly the same reasons to do something.
There you go. So reverse it. Reverse your not, and let your not become your reason for.
Yeah, because I had this neck surgery. I can't do this. How about this? I had this neck surgery. I can do this. I have to do this.
I have to do this. I have to do this. Listen, Anna, I pray that someone heard the message. I pray someone got it. I pray that what you've shared today is something that I don't know who you are or what you're going through or what you've been through or where you are at this point in your life. And maybe you're a cyclist, maybe you're not a cyclist. If you're not a cyclist, I encourage you to get on a bike. Get on a bike. It does wonders. And if you are a cyclist and you're struggling with various things, we've had cases of obesity. We have cases of depression. I mean, I've met some very encouraging individuals through All Things Fitness. And you just added to the list of another of athletes that have overcome tremendous, and they've had good reason to stop cycling. Good reason. If you need a reason, every single podcast I've had, that was a reason, if you needed a reason to stop, but yet none have. Each and every one of you guys have shown that you can persevere through anything if you set your heart and your mind to it. And that's what I get from you today. Incredible. And so now you do have a son.
I do. Yep. 15.
15. Oh,
yep.
He's 15 years old. So
He's
this would have
old.
So this would have been your second child then.
It would have, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Any signs that he showed he's a cyclist?
Well, I bought him a couple bikes. I did my part. We'll see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what. Listen, thank you. And I didn't even get around to. See, I told you the show would carry itself. In the photos, we never even got to it.
Oh, well.
There you go.
That's okay.
Right. Listen, I truly thank you for sharing your story, your journey. And I know it's going to encourage someone. I know someone is going to get blessed by it. There are so many people that are going through so many different things. And it may not be the exact same thing you went through. But the moral of the story here is just persevere, overcome, and the power to overcome. And I think you are a model for what that looks like, having the power to overcome. And so I wish you a long, healthy life, cycling career. And I'm sure we're going to see each other on the field of battle soon.
We will. I know that Hammerfest is coming up.
It is coming up. And I'm going to be ready this year. And just for the record, and I'll say this because, if you ever watched the promo for Hammerfest, I said I got dropped at my own Hammerfest multiple times by multiple groups. And Anna was one of the groups because I listened. and I'm going to end it on this. But I remember we were going down Grove and the group had kind of stretched out. And I was struggling so bad. And I won't make a ton of excuses of why I was struggling as bad as I was struggling. But I was struggling pretty bad. And I got on your back wheel. And I said to myself, I'm just going to hang on to this wheel until I can catch my second win. And you were so consistent. Like the pace you had set was so consistent. And I'm hoping at some point you would just drop down some because you had started to gap me. And I'm like, I can't stay on this wheel. And you gapped me and I let the gap get too big and you pulled on off. And I never seen you again until we got to the finish line. And so for that, I commend you. I truly commend you. What a phenomenal job you did. And now knowing what I know, what you went through up to that point, we talking like from the surgery, just for reference, the surgery to the point of Hammerfest. How long was that?
From the neck surgery or the...
No, the cervical.
Cervical. My neck surgery was in 2019.
Okay. And
the cancer surgery was in April. So April, May, June, July, August, 5 months.
So 5 months to the time of Hammerfest.
Yes.
You had this surgery. And you pulled off, I think you clocked in somewhere around 19, 20 average?
Yeah, somewhere in there. Yep.
Bravo.
Next year.
Right.
Thank you.
Bravo.
Thank you.
Great job. Thank you, Anna, so much. And we look forward to seeing you again out there. And I hope someone get the message and you bless someone.
Awesome.
All right. So listen up, guys. again, this is your boy Cross, the Christian Cyclist, all things fitness. As I always say, we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. I live by that, I stand by that, and I know it to be true. I'll see you again at the next episode.